What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the DFS OGs podcast here on RotoGrinders.com. I am Chris, Beermaker Stan Prince, joined as always by my boys, the OGs, Derek Farnsworth, you know him as Notorious, David Kaplan, a.k.a. Head Chopper. Boys, how we doing? How was what are we in now? Week 11? Week 12? How was last week? I don't even know what week we're in anymore, but an early happy Thanksgiving to you guys, to everybody out there. Noto, let's start with you. How did last week go for you?
Yeah, doing well. My favorite time of year, getting ready for the holidays, and going to be traveling to Nashville too this weekend, so I'm excited for that. As for last week, it was pretty good. Ended up breaking even for the most part. Had a pretty good showdown slate on Sunday night. And then last night, I'm still kicking myself for the Chiefs-Rams game. I ended up playing two kickers, and so that was pretty much my night. While they played well, I mean, you can't play two kickers when there's 50 touchdowns being scored.
No, you cannot. Not a two-kicker night for sure. So I'm kicking myself. As soon as Sammy Watkins was active, I removed all my Chris Conley shares. So that sunk my evening. But good last week. I had some great lineups going. Unfortunately, you got Wentz on some of those lineups. Had Wentz and Ertz going and didn't pan out. So definitely a mistake there. We'll get to those as we go along. But solid week overall. Chop, how was last week? How'd it go last night? How's things going, my man?
Last week was okay. I survived and came out slightly ahead of the game, and that's pretty good considering I had my highest owned player that I wanted to put in my lineups, Corey Davis. I had him all over on both sites, and I messed that up. So considering that debacle, I feel pretty good getting out of there last week with a slight win. So last night was interesting. I didn't particularly cash, kind of like Derek said. If you don't get a good piece of that, those 12 touchdowns or whatever, you're in trouble. And I mean, those freaking showdown slates are so peculiar. With one touchdown can swing everything. So like the night before that on Sunday night with the Diggs touchdown, I go from not cashing to cashing extremely high in all my games. And it's the exact opposite last night. You don't have, those touchdowns, and all of a sudden you aren't cashing anything. So I'm okay with it, though. Time to move on, bounce back. This is a great week right here for sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't sweat those games like last night. You're watching, you're currently winning. It could say 30,000. It could say 0 the next minute. So that'll cause some heart problems. So I want to start with a pour one out, and I'm going to pour one out for anybody that had the gall to bet the under last night. You just don't like fun when you're doing something like that. But, B, they almost hit that baby by halftime. So, to me, I thought that was easy cheese, betting the over in that game. So, pour one out to all you under bettors in the Rams and the Chiefs. What a game. So, let's move forward, though. We're a forward-thinking podcast, and we're going to take a look at the Thanksgiving slate here in part one. So we'll just cover those games here. We'll answer some holiday-related questions here in part one, so doing things a little differently than we normally do. And then we'll come back for part two and cover the rest of the games on Sunday and Monday. So let's dive in here, guys. Thanksgiving, we always know, starts with the Detroit Lions. We got the Chicago Bears coming into town. Now on DraftKings and FanDuel, we have showdown slates for each and every game. They start out small, 100,000 here for the Bears Lions, 250 for Redskins and Cowboys. Then we get a $1 million showdown on DraftKings for Atlanta and New Orleans. And then you have the 3-game slate as well. Not a lot of nice tournaments. So we'll try to cover it from all aspects, but mainly focus on the 3 games. So, Chop, let's start with you. Lions, Bears, I think the big news here, the injuries. Kerryon Johnson goes down in Detroit. Could be some value opening up there, obviously, with Theo Riddick, LeGarrette Blount in Chicago. Mitchell Trubisky dealing with an injury. Sounds like he should play, but something we have to monitor and keep an eye on. So kick us off here, Chop. 12:30 start Eastern, Bears and Lions.
Yeah, for the showdown on this is going to be interesting. You're going to have to make some decisions because obviously this is a tough matchup. Chicago's definitely proven to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. But on the other hand, Stafford usually takes his Detroit team, and they usually play really well on Thanksgiving. It's a narrative thing. I know some people don't believe in that, but they really play well on Thanksgiving. So it's tough when in the showdowns you're going to have to choose somebody from the Lions. That's just the way it is. So it's a tough one. But when you look at the grand scope of the 3-game slate, it's really interesting because the one big total on there is 15 points higher than the next game. That's the night game, Atlanta, New Orleans, which everybody's going to load up on, is 15 points higher than this Chicago, Detroit, and 20 points higher than the Dallas game. So you got to take all that into consideration when you're building your 3-game lineup. So Detroit, I mean, if people want to flock to Galladay this week, that's fine. I'll probably fade him. It's a tougher matchup. I definitely believe in him, but just not in this matchup. Theo Riddick's okay. If Luke Wilson is healthy, I think he left last week. I don't know if he's doubtful, questionable, or what. But if he's healthy, he's an interesting target just because they don't have very many other pass catchers. And if you think they take away Galladay, then they really are lacking pass catching. But Chicago's the interesting side here. Trubisky's a slate-breaking quarterback when he's on his game. This Detroit defense, I'm not super impressed by it. I think Trubisky could have a lot of success. I think problem with him is he's got 5 legitimate targets, and you're kind of taking a guessing game as to which one he's going to hit. I kind of don't think I can play Jordan Howard anymore. He's not only touchdown dependent, but that's the only thing he does anymore is score touchdowns. And even 1 touchdown won't break you here. 2 touchdowns probably won't break you either because it probably only rushed for like 30 yards. So I think I can fade the Jordan Howard, but trying to pair Trubisky with one of his 5 targets is really difficult.
Yeah, I think Jordan Howard's going to be a popular option. 4,100, it's a nice salary saver. Everybody's going to be targeting that last game and trying to get in the Kamaras and Julios and Michael Thomases of the world. And when you look at Detroit's run for the season, things don't look great. But over the last few weeks, been pretty good. And I don't think it's any coincidence that Snacks Harrison arrives, the mountain of a man there, and kind of helps out, and shores up that running attack. So couple notes on the tight end situation. Michael Roberts did get a limited practice in yesterday, which is Monday as of this recording, so he could be an interesting guy. I really like Bruce Ellington, guys. Steps right in and gets 9 targets. You know they need to go somewhere. The defensive focus will be on Galladay, so Bruce Ellington questionable as of this recording, but if he goes, I think 3,200, great value on him. So let's get over to Noto here. Bears, Lions, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, you mentioned Snacks Harrison. If you look at their numbers over the last 3 weeks, they've been much better against the run, and they've been the worst pass defense in the NFL, at least one of the bottom 3. So I love the spot for Trubisky, assuming he's able to suit up. Just dropped 39 fantasy points against this same team in Chicago a couple weeks ago. Now gets him on the fast track in Detroit. So he's going to be my favorite tournament play when it comes to quarterback in this 3-game slate. I do think for cash games, you probably want to lean to one of the guys in the Saints and Falcons game. But love Trubisky here. He just offers such a high rushing floor, and they have a lot of big plays in that offense. So you can get points quickly. And then to pair him up, I'm not really sure what I want to do just yet. Allen Robinson did end up having the big game against Detroit earlier when they faced off 2 weeks ago. So maybe they load up to try to stop him, and we can go to some of the other pass catchers here. Maybe look at Taylor Gabriel. Anthony Miller seems to be, involved in the offense. He doesn't see a ton of targets, but they like to target him in the red zone. He's scored in 3 of the last 4 weeks. So he's an interesting tournament play. Trey Burton's been quiet. I think they can get him going a little bit against the Lions defense that hasn't been great against tight ends. And I'm with you guys. I think I'm going to be fading Jordan Howard. He did see 65% of the snaps last week. They're probably going to be playing from ahead, so I do think a lot of people are going to go that route. But he just hasn't been very productive at all on the ground, and Snacks Harrison's there, so I will give the edge to Cohen over Howard in that one. For Detroit, it's going to be ugly. I think you can certainly play the Bears defense here. Stafford has just taken a ton of sacks since they traded away Golden Tate. Doesn't really have that, easy outlet that he had before. So, I'm not too interested in their offense outside of Theo Riddick. I think he's fine after burning a lot of people last week. But he didn't get the snaps in the slot that many people were thinking. So I'll go to Galladay. I'll take a little bit of Tate, and then whichever cheap wide receiver, whether it be Ellington or Roberts, I'll take a shot on them as well.
All right, now the 3 of us are known for our DFS chops. Well, let's add a little sports betting in here. Let's mix it up a little bit. So make your pick. Bears -4. Who do you got there?
Yeah, I hate taking favorites on the road, but give me the Bears.
Chop, what do you got? Bears -4 in this one.
Give me Give me the over in this game. I can't. I don't want to pick against Stafford.
There you go. I'm going to go ahead and take the Lions. You know, the Lions generally play well on Thanksgiving, and the one thing I know about the Lions, they beat teams they're not supposed to beat. You know, they play down to the level of the opponent. That's why they get wrecked by the Jets on opening night. But they beat the Carolinas at home. They beat New England. They beat Green Bay. I think they hang in this game, potentially win this game. So give me the 4 points and the Lions.
I'm switching. Backdoor cover with a Galladay touchdown late in the fourth.
There you go. Welcome aboard, my friend. All right, let's go to the game where, outside of Chop, who I know likes Dallas, this is where I'm going to get my nap. You know, I'm going to get some turkey in.
Come on, guys.
The tryptophan is going to set in.
This is for first place in the division. Come on.
I'm going to get comfortable. This is where I start booting people out of the house. And, you know, this is where I get my Z's in before the Atlanta-New Orleans game. So we'll get to Chop in a minute. He clearly likes this game. Derek, we're going to start with you here. Washington, Dallas. Are you more excited about this one, or are you going to be napping right alongside me?
Yeah, I might be napping. Depends on what time dinner's served. That tryptophan definitely going to be kicking in. But my third and wrong for last week, Amari Cooper, I just was expecting a much bigger target share than he got. He only saw 5 targets, caught 3 of them for 36 yards. Desmond Trufant did a really nice job on him, and now he's probably going to get locked up against Josh Norman. So, don't really want to play Amari here. I think, maybe people will feel burned and he'll be lower owned. But if he ends up being 30% like we have him projected for right now, then I'll probably look elsewhere. I think it's a Zeke game. They're going to be, big favorites in this one. They're playing at home. Zeke's been awesome over the last few weeks. So I'll take Zeke in this one, maybe pair him up with the Dallas defense. Colt McCoy doesn't really scare me at this point. So give me, the Zeke with the Dallas defense. And for Washington, there's nobody I really trust on this offense. Maybe take a look at Jordan Reed. Finally got going a little bit. It took Colt McCoy for him to have his breakout game. Still doesn't get a lot of deep targets, but he does have a pretty good track record against the Cowboys throughout his career. So probably just 3 options total for me in this one.
Yeah, I'm about on the same page. I want some Zeke, I want some Dallas D, and that's really about it for me. So let's get over to Chop. He seems to love this game. He's going to fight through, stay awake, and watch this battle in a 40-point total, Chop. So I got to see what's so exciting about this one.
Oh, no. From a fantasy perspective, not very exciting. I'm not going to lie.
That's what we're talking about here. What are we doing?
I like to, this is for the division lead. Like I said, I think it's interesting. So I'll definitely be awake for this one just to root on my Cowboys. But as far as the fantasy, this is really tough. The Dallas defense is solid and they're at home. I guess you could look at Jordan Reed on one side. He's going to get a lot more work now with Colt McCoy there. It's Dallas defense. They seem to have all this talent, but they always seem to underperform when they should do a lot better. So maybe Dotson or Maurice Harris get off in this game. You just never know. Like, it's going to be tough to sit there and load up on Michael Thomas, Kamara, Julio Jones, all the good – at some point you got to save a little salary somewhere. So maybe it comes from the Washington pass catchers. And I would definitely fade the running game. I fade McCoy. On the flip side, not saying he's the greatest option on this, but it's only 3 games, so maybe Dak Prescott runs – what if Dak Prescott runs 2 of them in, which he's very capable of doing? He could be, for 5.2K on DraftKings on the 3-game slate, he could be the guy who gets you there, if he runs 2 in and throws for another couple. Washington's been known to have a very stout run defense in that defensive line, so maybe Elliott doesn't have a field day here. I've said it before, Amari Cooper – it's tough to go to a new team midseason and make an impact, and we're seeing that all around the NFL right now. Golden Tate's not making an impact. Demaryius Thomas. Cooper is the one who's making the biggest impact, but it's not even that much of a real-life impact. It's just kind of a decoy thing. So if we're being honest, okay, you know what I will take a chance with is Rico Gathers, because the tight ends on this slate are pretty weak. I think even if I got a 0 from Rico, I think I could still overcome that as long as Jordan Reed and Trey Burton stay out of the end zone. I can overcome a 0 from Rico Gathers. And if something happens and they finally turn him loose, you could win a slate because of him. And the last name I'll throw out there is Michael Gallup. If he ends up playing in this game, and I was talking to Tony this morning, Big T, and we both had the same thought that if he ends up playing, there wouldn't be a bigger narrative this week than them forcing Michael Gallup to get a touchdown, like forcing the ball to him to get him a touchdown after everything he's been through this week. So if he ends up being active, I'll play me some Michael Gallup because I think they'll do their best to get that guy in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, I like that one. You know, we're not trying to trivialize things, you know, here. Obviously, a terrible loss there for him and his family, but narrative-wise, I think that's accurate. You know, and you look at the coverage, Josh Norman will spend a lot of time on Amari Cooper, you got to think. At 3,500, definitely like that call. So let's take your pick here. You got Dallas minus 7.5, or you can go over-under at 40.5. Chop, what is your best bet out of this game?
I'm going to take Dallas minus the points. I just think that if the defense plays out like it should against Colt McCoy, they'll have a hard time scoring, and I think they can muscle up enough points against Washington right now that they can cover that spread.
Derek, take your pick. 7.5 for Dallas or 40.5 in the total over-under.
Yeah, that's 7.5. You know, it's that number right there. I'd rather have it be at 7 or 6.5, but I'll still take the Cowboys, and I'd lean the under too.
Feels like Vegas trying to get you to take the Redskins. You know, whenever they tack that half on there, you know, people like to have that little security blanket, the hook, as it's known. So I'm going to make it a sweep here. Take Dallas in the points. I think they win by double digits in this one. All right, let's go to the nightcap, guys, and this one should be fun. This is why you get that nap in the middle of the day. So you can wake up fresh, ready to roll here, 8:20 Eastern. So you're going to have to stay up late, but it should be a good one. Atlanta and New Orleans. New Orleans, big favorites at home, 13-point favorites, 60-point total in this one. So, you know, we saw what happens last night. You know, we got big totals. That game went over 100 points. Do we come anywhere close to this one, Chop? Do we get 100 points here? Is this just another Saints onslaught? Do we trust the Falcons in the spot? I think this is obviously the game that's going to win or lose you things here in this slate, and obviously $1 million showdown slate on this one as well. So definitely the game of the week, definitely the game of Thanksgiving. What do you got here, Falcons and Saints?
It's crazy that Monday night game at 63 was the highest total ever, and then we come back 4 days later and we got another 60 on tap.
60 burger, baby.
See, the NFL is pretty crazy with all the new rules this year, but it's fun, so that's good. This game could go a lot of different ways. Blowout, you know, a high-scoring game. It could go so many different directions. So in analyzing the Atlanta side of it, I think Matt Ryan makes for a fine play. He's the second highest priced quarterback on the slate behind Drew Brees, and he deserves to be. He's had five games of 30-plus DraftKings points this year. That's like, I think I read something a couple weeks ago where they didn't have a quarterback didn't go over 30 points on DraftKings the whole year last year, and Matt Ryan's done it 5 times this year already, in addition to like Trubisky doing it 4 times and so on and so forth. And we see what Mahomes is doing. So that's pretty crazy stuff. But if I'm playing Atlanta guys, Tevin Coleman stands out to me because they're going to be behind in passing. Julio's always a threat. Ridley's a little bit beat up. So if you think Lattimore is going to give Julio tough times, I'm going to look at Sanu because he's the third guy there. And I think he's the guy who could step up and be pretty big for a real nice salary. On the flip side, I'll probably end up fading Drew Brees for the fact that this could end up being a blowout. And I think there are better quarterbacks out there if that happens. So Kamara is your lights out number 1 player on the slate. From everything we've seen, the Atlanta defense give up to running backs. Michael Thomas is your hands down number 1 wide receiver. I have no issues trying to force those 2 guys on every single team I do and build around them. As far as saving money here, you can definitely take some shots here on Keith Kirkwood. Austin Carr caught a touchdown last week. You just never know who Breeze is going to throw to in these kind of situations. So any of those guys are perfectly acceptable salary savers this 3-game slate.
Yeah, the same thought on New Orleans. You know, if you're going to throw a dart, throw it with some of these cheap Saints receivers because they're going to get opportunities, especially in the red zone, like you said. So, you know, like those calls, I think Mark Ingram's still a phenomenal option. You know, the price jumped up at 6,100. Still feels a bit too cheap, and we know an Ingram and Kamara pairing has done some damage. We talked about it last week. I think you can roll that out again this week and feel good about it. Would not surprise me to see them score 4 or 5 touchdowns on the ground. So tons of ways you can go here. Traquan Smith, another guy that, was cheap coming off a big game. That's one I may take an underweight approach on this week, Derek. So thoughts on that? I think he's going to be very popular on this 3-game slate. Thoughts there, and then the rest of Falcons and Saints.
Yeah, so just looking at the running backs in this slate as a whole, really thin position. So if you want to play Kamara and Ingram, I certainly don't mind that. Do you guys know why they just continue to give Ingram all the red zone touches? I mean, he just gets stuffed at the goal line every single time, and they just refuse to give Kamara the ball. It's pretty frustrating. But anyway, I do think you can play both of them, because I don't really want to play, running back from the Bears or the Redskins or the Falcons, really. So I do think that you can stack up the running backs for New Orleans, and then the passing game obviously going to be in play as well. When it comes to cash games, I do think your quarterback should be from this game. You can have Drew Brees with the high team total, or go, with Matt Ryan. They'll be playing from behind. So I think both of those guys are in play. I agree with you on Traquan Smith. I think it's a good spot to fade him. After that huge game last week, everyone's going to be on him, especially if he ends up practicing, Tuesday or Wednesday. Coming off that huge game, everyone's going to look to him. He's still cheap. So I like pivoting to some of these other cheap receivers. Then for Atlanta, there is a direct correlation between Julio Jones scoring touchdowns and him being on my main lineup or not. 100% correlation so far this season. Haven't played in the last 3 weeks. He scored 3 touchdowns. I'm not worried about the matchup against Lattimore. In their 2 meetings last season, he put up 149 yards and 98 yards. And Lattimore just hasn't been as dominant this season. We've seen a bunch of number 1 wide receivers have big games against the Saints. So I love Julio. And, yeah, if you want to go with Hooper or Ben Watson, I certainly don't mind that as a cheap tight end. And then maybe the sneakiest play in this game is going to be the Saints defense. Basically what we're looking for in a defense is one that's going to be playing from ahead, where the opposing team is going to be passing the ball a lot. I used this philosophy last week with the Saints, and it worked out pretty well against the Eagles. Going to be going back to that well. So I do think everyone's going to be looking towards the Bears and the Cowboys D.
So my job here is to ask the hard-hitting questions. So are you going to be playing Julio Jones? That's what we need to know. Are you going to end the touchdown streak? Single-handedly end it just by putting him in your rosters.
Yeah, I apologize in advance.
Boy. All right. Fade Julio, I guess, is the Thanksgiving treat here for us. So
he'll still get 200 yards. He gets a lot of yards, I think.
We got to keep that touchdowns. Can't you just stay away one more week? You do that for us? But it should be a fun game, no doubt. A lot of ways you can go in this one. And that will wrap up the 3 gamers, guys. Any final thoughts? Let's do some bold calls here just for the Thanksgiving games. Again, we'll answer questions here in part 1. I know it was a shorter podcast here, but wanted to get Thanksgiving stuff out to you guys nice and early. I know everyone's starting to build lineups. So final thoughts here, bold calls. Chop, anything stand out here on Thanksgiving you want to hit on?
We covered all those bases. I'll give you a bold call. It's really bold too, but things break perfect in these games, and the Chicago-Detroit games ends up outscoring the Atlanta-New Orleans game.
Wow. That's bold right there. I like it. Noto, can you match the heat Chop's bringing to the table?
I'm going to stick in that same game. I'm going to go Mitchell Trubisky, 4 touchdowns, and gets the bonus, whether it's 100-yard rushing or 300 yards passing.
Nice. I'm going to say in that game as well. We'll make it a threesome here, and I think LeGarrette Blount, 2 touchdowns in that game against the vaunted Bears defense. So, somebody's got to score there, and Blount's going to get his opportunities. He is very cheap, a guy I think you could throw some darts on. So, all right, that'll wrap up the football. Now we'll knock out some questions. Got some good ones, some holiday ones. I was inspired by Derek's over-unders last week, so I come up with a few of those as well. But from RG user Mill1155. Now, this is a 4-part question, guys, so bear with me here. If each of you are running for president, who would you choose for your vice presidential running mate? Chop, who's the VP if you're running for president?
Oh, man, that's a tough question. I haven't vetted everybody, but I would say right offhand, you catch me off guard, but right offhand, I think my guy is Big T. We're on a pretty similar plane of thought in a lot of different things. We laugh at the same thing, so I know he's an all right guy. If we can make fun of Dean and Britt the same way, we're in pretty good shape there. So I think I'd take that as my running mate. Big T.
Big T is a good choice. Derek, who you got? Vice president.
I'm going to go with my main man, Birdwings. Been close to him for many years, and if you follow his Twitter, he's definitely into politics, a lot more than I am, so he could help me out in that area for sure.
I'm going to go with our very own Derek Farnsworth, a.k.a. Notorious. If there's a politician amongst the three of us, Derek likes to toe the middle of the line, so I think he'd be good on fighting on both sides of the aisle. So I'll take you, Noto. All right, rank in order your favorite movie quarterbacks. So some of the options: Shane Falco, from Replacements; John Moxon, Varsity Blues; little Paul Blake from Necessary Roughness; little Willie Beeman, Any Given Sunday; Paul Crew. Favorite quarterback from a movie, Derek.
Oh man, this one's tough. I haven't seen any of these movies for so long. I'll go with Adam Sandler in the one where he got the Michael Irvin and those guys playing.
All Crew.
There you go.
Longest Yard. Chop, you got a favorite movie quarterback?
Whew. If I was going to narrow this list down, I would say I think my favorite from the movies, not from the TV, but from the movies, I'm going to go Lance Arbor, Varsity Blues. That was the breakout. Well, that wasn't even the breakout role, but that was the first role we've ever seen. Was it Paul Walker?
Yep.
Yeah, that was his first role ever. That dude was cool as ice, man. You got to, and then a runner-up would be Sunshine from Remember the Titans. Boy, he had a cannon on him. He had a cannon. He nailed Bertier from about 40 yards out. I remember that one.
Good. Oh, Sunshine. That's probably my favorite. I'm gonna go wide receiver. I'm gonna go right back to Varsity Blues with Tweeter, man.
Oh, for
Tweeter
sure.
was my guy, dude. That's a great movie. So a lot of options in that one. Old Billy Bob, great movie. So. Question number 3, simple. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Chop, what do you think?
This is crazy stuff here, but I cannot give you an opinion on that because I've never seen the movie.
Oh.
Wow.
Yep, I know.
Oh.
Yep. That must have, can somebody give me
any of them?
Can somebody give me a year? No, I've never seen none of them. Can somebody give me a year on when it was released? Because that would tell you a lot as to why I never saw it. It had to be an early '90s movie or something.
I'm gonna look it up right now. My goodness.
I mean, there was a point. There was
1988.
Yeah, there was a point in time. I wasn't really worried about movies too much, so that would be one where I just never saw Die Hard, man. Yeah, back then, '88. I mean, we didn't have like Netflix and all this
VHS, beta tapes.
Man, we didn't do all that in my house, man. So I just never saw it, and I never got around to it. Just never seemed like something that I want. But so I'm not equipped to handle that question. I always laugh at people who debate it. I have no idea what they're talking about.
Aren't you like the movie guy and giving reviews on movies?
I love movies nowadays. I love me some movie, and I loved movies in the theater back then. I just never. I'd be lucky if I got to go see my mom and dad. They work, they didn't want to take me to no movie, man.
Mr. Redbox himself, stumble out to a Redbox and get some Die Hard and check it out. And we'll come back to this question. Derek, Die Hard, Christmas movie, yes or no?
Well, Chop, we're going to have to plan a movie night because I've never seen it either.
Oh, my God.
Whoa!
What are we doing?
I love it.
How are we called the OGs and you guys haven't seen damn Die Hard?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Well, Derek's got an excuse. He wasn't born in '88 yet.
I was one.
So I was 11 at that time. A couple of years on Noto. Yes, it's a Christmas movie. You guys go watch some damn Die Hard. Over these holidays.
Put it on the list.
The next RG party, we'll have a.
There you go.
Die Hard.
Oh man! All right, let's move on. Last question here. In a game of 3-on-3 basketball, so you got to pay attention to the teams here. He set up the team, so he's got U2 and CSU Ram against myself, Big T, and the Siege. It's a lot of size.
There's a very important question that needs to be answered.
All right, what do you got?
Half court or full court?
That's a great question. And so for the benefit of my team, we're going to play half court.
It's got to be half court. There's no way 6 of us are making it.
This is the battle of speed against size right here.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the half court, I think you guys would have us, but full court, I think we might beat you guys.
See that? There's that politician I'm talking about. That's my VP, baby. Chop, what do you got?
You know what? It's tough to answer that because I've never seen Big T play, but I've heard great things about him. But I've never seen him play. I've seen Notorious at CSU, Beer. I've seen all you guys play. I think me and Siege are obviously the throw-ins here, so it's not really matter how good or bad we are. But I would say my team has the advantage because I've seen Derek and CSU. Man, there's a skill set, man. When you can get to the basket, when you can dribble to the basket and get your shot up close range, that's a skill set, man, that not many people have. And CSU can get there, so can Notorious. So maybe Big T's, the second coming of something great. I don't know, but from what I know, I'm gonna take Notorious and CSU.
Yeah, I think if you guys are hitting the outside shots too, I think that's what it would come down to. I've seen Pete; he can hit the three. Derek's got some game; he can hit the three. If it came down to that, you guys got to drag us big guys away from the hoop. That could be your advantage, but I think we dominate in the paint though. So I'm obviously going to go with our team.
Hey, Bear, what was the name of that guy that showed up at the very first basketball game and he was drunk already?
Norman.
The fantasy nomad.
Nomad.
That guy.
He was just tackling guys on the court.
Yeah, that was and then that dude was hammered. Wasn't it like 11 in the morning we played too? Like it wasn't like we played at 3 in the afternoon. I mean, I think he partied all night and showed up at the game and he was taking people out, dude. It was like, remember the video game Arch Rivals? No blood, no foul? That's what we were doing out there. What the hell's going on here? So, all right, let's transition from that into some Thanksgiving questions. So from Ultimate Sports Fan on Twitter, favorite Thanksgiving Day dessert? Derek.
I'll go with the traditional pumpkin pie.
Chop?
Yeah, I mean, I can't get fancy here. Pumpkin pie is the best.
I love pumpkin pie, but I slightly prefer a little pecan pie. You don't find it at a lot of Thanksgiving days, but I make that request, and that's my favorite. Also, he says, tough question. You prefer your family's cooking or your in-laws cooking? Derek, be careful here. I know your wife listens to the show occasionally.
Yeah, well, her family doesn't do a whole lot of get-togethers, so I'll go with my family. But the funny thing is I have a very unique family, I would say. So anytime we have a big event, we always make sure to ask who made which dishes and then stay away from a select few.
There you go. Chop, your family or the in-laws?
Oh, man, that's a no-brainer. I mean, my mother-in-law cooks great. Don't get me wrong, but, I mean, I got to go with my family. My mom been cooking for me forever, so I love that food, man.
Yeah, same. I mean, love my in-laws. They make some good stuff, but nothing like the old family cooking. So this is a tremendous question from Too Stealthy. Belt off after the meal, or you just start out in sweats? Chop. A lot of food going down. So
well, I got to drop the belt after the meal. I'm not going to do sweats on Thanksgiving Day, so I got to drop the belt. But I do drop the belt. That's not an exaggeration or just a movie thing. I do unbuckle that belt, man, after that first round.
Derek?
Yeah, you can't wear sweats to Thanksgiving, so belt for sure.
Yeah, we did one year. Like, let's just do a pajama Thanksgiving. It was a little weird. So it's a little weird. But everybody in their PJs and probably more food than should have been consumed that day. So you dial it back a little bit. You strap that belt on, and maybe you don't eat as much. So I'm in agreement with you guys. All right, let's play a little over-under. I just got a couple of them here. We'll start with, let's see. How many plates of food? Over-under. Oh, where do I set a good line? Over under 2.5. Everybody goes back for seconds.
Does this include dessert?
Does not include dessert. Just meal. Chop.
Over.
Not even a question in his mind.
Yeah, no doubt.
Derek, over under 2.5 trips to the buffet line.
It's got to be under. I just can't eat that much food at a time. So sorry, guys.
You know what? I'm under too, man. I like Thanksgiving because of the football and all that, but I think the turkey and all that's a little bit overrated. So I'm going to eat it, but under. I'll make a second trip, but that's it. Then give me them desserts. So the over-under I really want to get to, how many family members are going to annoy the shit out of you on Thanksgiving? Now, I'm not just talking about they bother you. You don't want them in your house. They're really going to get under your skin. Over-under 4.5. Derek.
Oh man, no, it takes a lot to bug me, so I'll say under. But yeah, my family is pretty big; it's like 50 people, so maybe this year we'll hit the over.
Chop, over under 4.5. How many are going to annoy you?
Well, the way you phrased the question, I'm going to say under because, there's really nobody that's going to – I can pretty much block everybody out. So you're there and you're doing whatever you do. I can block you out. So the way you phrased it, I'm going to go under. But if you would have phrased it, how many are just going to annoy you, period, just by being there? The answer is every single one of them, but that includes my wife and kids. I really don't want to hear none of them. I just want to sit down and watch my. So if we're, it's two different things. But there's nobody. I typically maybe one person. Maybe I might want to absolutely run out of there if I could. But usually it's
that's why I phrase it that way. Otherwise, I'll say everybody. So I got 3 right off the bat. We need
to know. We need to know
who
they are.
Yeah, they know who they are. We give the little greeting. Hey, how are you? Happy Thanksgiving. There's not much else said beyond that. One room, I'm in the other, and I got 45 people I think coming to my house on Thursday. So. We'll make our pleasantries, but I'm going to go over as well. I already know there's 3. There'll be a few other ones. It gets stressful. You know how Thanksgiving goes, so I'll go over on that. But looking forward to it for sure. Anything to add, guys? Any questions? Any over-unders? We wrapping this baby up?
I'll say this. So this year, we have to do something a little different. Usually our Thanksgiving is everybody come over. They start coming in around 11:30. Food's out there around 12:30. The game's already on. Somewhere around mid-halftime to the end of that Dallas game, everybody's trickling out and they're gone, and that's it. We wrap it up, and I turn to my wife. Every holiday, I turn to my wife and say, "Hey, Thanksgiving 2018 in the books, Christmas 2018 in the book," because that's it. She knows I don't really dig all that stuff, so she gets mad at me, but I do it anyway. This year, it's going to be different. My mom has to do something on Thursday morning. So I got to have the in-laws over here in the morning time, and we got to go through the whole process again at night when my mom and my dad and my sister get over here. So I got to do the double whammy. So, man, they're pushing my patience this year. No, if my mom or dad are listening, hey, no offense to you, but this is tough. This is tough for me, man. I want to kind of sit down and watch that shootout at night. I got to do double Thanksgiving now. So it's rough, man. Your prayers and thoughts are very encouraged here.
You are hammering that over on the 4.5, Chop, with the double Thanksgiving. That year is definitely going to be a lot of annoyance in your house. So, that's tough, man. One's enough, let alone 2. Derek, final thoughts here before we get out of here for part 1.
Yeah, whether you're annoyed by your family or whether your lineups get off to a bad start in the 3-game slate, don't worry. We can always hit the nuts in the showdown slate.
That's right. Couldn't say it better myself. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody out there. Enjoy the family, the food, the football, the friends. Should be a great day. We are going to come back with part 2 and cover everything you need to know for Sunday. I'll get to all the games Sunday night, Monday Night Football. For Notorious, for Head Shopper, I am Beer saying salu again. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Good luck on this slate. Have some fun with it. Win some money. And we'll see you back here for part 2.